Hi guys. Hello everyone. So can you hear me right now? I'm not sure if you can, but can you hear me? You can hear me, right? I hope you can hear me, right? Yeah, finally, I figured out how it works. Anyways, let's go to streaming because I've lost enough time already. With 4% of the vote in, Donald Trump is the projected winner of the West Virginia primary right now. Again, there was some audio issues. Now it works, I believe. Now going to the U.S. Senate, there is no call right now. I do believe that Jim Justice will end up winning. Alex Mooney in second place. He is ahead in Jefferson County. Now I'm gonna just look at the results here. What we're gonna see here is that there are three counties right now reporting. Monongalia County, this is the bluest county in the state. However, it did vote for Donald Trump by just about 1% back in 2020. This does seem to be Jim Justice is running 67% here. It does make sense. He is a former Democrat. This is where the bulk of the current vote is. Wood County also 65%. However, what we see in Jefferson County, Alex Mooney does have the lead. Jim Justice will probably end up prevailing in this race. That will not be too super surprising at this time. I do believe that right now it does seem like that Donald Trump here with 4% of the primary vote in, he is ahead of Nikki Haley 82.6 to 14.9. The closest county right now is Monongalia County, which is the county where again, this is the more Democratic county out of all of these counties here. The Democratic primary, unsurprising, Joe Biden is leading right now. In the lieutenant governor's race, 11% of the vote in. Hal Weatherman does lead over Jim O'Neill in pretty much every single county. It's a rather large landslide right now. And with the House election right here, it does seem like that in this newly drawn district, that Brad Knott is leading over the Republican Party in the Republican primary in this election. Now I'm just gonna wait for some more results. I'm gonna focus more on West Virginia if that is okay with y'all. I'm just testing the audio here. Okay, so we're gonna look at these results here. So we're gonna look at the results. We see that Donald Trump and Joe Biden are pretty much replicating each other in terms of their current performance. Jason Palmer, a little-known candidate who actually won a primary in American Samoa, he is at 6.9%. Nikki Haley at 14.9%. Again, what we're looking at right now, two competitive races here. Again, the Democratic primary, technically for Attorney General and also for U.S. Senate, are both competitive, but it does not matter, right? Democrats are not going to end up winning these types of primaries. We're looking at right now, again, still stuck at 4%. We're going to still go to North Carolina because they have more vote. Hal Weatherman and the Republican here not have both been projected the winner in the state auditor race here, 13% in, too close to call between the two candidates. Weatherman in the Republican primary in North Carolina holds a significant lead over the other candidates here. Now we go to the state of West Virginia. That is pretty much going to be the last time we end up looking at North Carolina. But with 4% still stuck here, we see that 32 delegates have been awarded to Donald Trump. Joe Biden has only gotten 12 delegates so far because of the proportional system. Still, we're stuck at 4%. 4 counties reported here. And I'm just going to be looking at these results. We see Alex Mooney, again, 60% in Jefferson County. What we see is that in Monongalia County, 37% of the vote is in. Jim Justice, 67%. We go to Harrison County, 73%. And Wood County, 65%. Do note here that Jim Justice is a former Democratic governor and current Republican governor in the state of West Virginia. Now we go to the governor's race here. This is quite competitive. We might see a geographical divide here. Jefferson County, this is kind of like the belt part of the state of West Virginia, the panhandle. What we're going to see is that perhaps Patrick Morrissey could do better there. Perhaps someone to do with Shelley Moore Capital. Again, one of the senators in the state of West Virginia is named Shelley Moore Capital. Although I'm not sure, it does look like there's some relationship between the two. What we see is that in this part of the state, the bulk of the vote is going to come from Kanawha County, which is where Huntington is located. So I'm just going to be going to the, I'm going to share a different screen now, perhaps. So present, stop screen. I'm going to share a separate, I'm going to share the screen in a separate manner. So I'm going to just wait for me to share the screen. Okay, so present, share screen. All right, so we're here. So for the 2020 presidential race here, what we're gonna see is that in the state of West Virginia, which does currently have the votes counted, we see that 4% again in. We're kind of stuck here, so I'm just gonna take you through the state of West Virginia, right? Just like what I said here, Monongalia County, one of the most populated counties in the state. Another county that has came in, Jefferson County, is one of the more kind of competitive counties, competitive at least by West Virginia standards. And that's the county where the two underdog candidates, Alex Mooney and also Alex Mooney, the underdog candidate, is currently leading it. This is one of the more competitive counties in the state so far. What we're also seeing right now is that Monongalia County, the most competitive county in the state, has reported in favor of Jim Justice with 37% reported. Harrison County and Wood County are both very conservative counties. We look at both of those counties there, they are very conservative. Wood County and also Harrison County. Both of them are very conservative counties, gave Trump more than 70% of the vote in both instances. I'm just gonna check on, I'm just gonna check on the comments here. Is there any live chat? It does not look like that so far, so we're gonna be looking at this. Again, we don't actually have a lot of results. It's kind of still stuck at 4 to 5% reported, which is kind of annoying. We see that in Wyoming County here, not Wyoming State, Trump is at 94%. This is the latest report, but we don't have that report for the Republican primary in the governor's race or the Senate race so far. Again, we're going to be waiting. Okay, we see some more results here. Jim Justice has climbed a little bit with a new report from Wyoming County. Jim Justice here at 80%, one of his strongest performances so far. We don't have that vote from the governor's race yet, so we're going to wait on that. It does shape up to be a close race here between Patrick Morrisey and Moore Capital. It definitely looks like a extremely competitive and hotly contested race as of right now. We're going to be looking at these results and seeing how it changes over the course of tonight. Any comments, make sure to put it down. If you have any questions, put it in the live chat and I'm going to try and answer them. Okay, so we see some more vote here, 7% now in. Donald Trump again at 84.2% of the vote. We're waiting for these. As you can see, there's a geographical divide. Okay, Berkeley County, 5% of the vote now reported. Alex Mooney is in the lead. Jim Justice probably will win the Republican primary. He has been polling about 20 to 25 points ahead of everyone else. When we go to the governor's race here, Patrick Morrisey has expanded his lead over Moore Capital, with Berkeley County now in 51%. Pretty strong performance here for Patrick Morrisey. We might see a divide here between the Panhandle counties and also some of the more like some of the center state counties as of right now. What we're also going to see here is that some of the population centers here, Kanawha County, this is pretty much the most populated county across the state. Again, West Virginia is a not super populated state, but we do see Kanawha County. This is where pretty much the state capital is. This is the most populated area. We're also going to see some vote here in many of the rural areas because the state is predominantly rural. That is the most significant type of vote producing area, and whoever wins the rurals will probably end up winning. Again, just the update here, Donald Trump still sits at 84.2%, Joe Biden sits at 81%, though it doesn't really matter for him. He's not going to win West Virginia either way, and so is Donald Trump. It doesn't really matter. What really matters, perhaps, is Kanawha County, perhaps an indicator of the general election. The Republican primary here, Jim Justice still maintains a lead over Alex Mooney. Going to the governor's race here, we have another county in right now, and that is Mason County. And Chris Miller, who does not even have a profile picture on New York Times, currently holds 15% of the vote, which is enough for him to get 4th place. It does look like Mac Warner is getting 4th place pretty much everywhere else, but Chris Miller, right now, Mason County filling in for him. It does look like it's going to be a race between Patrick Morsi and Moore Capital. Going to the Republican primary for Senate, this is the most hotly contested race. Okay, I see a comment here. What margin do you think that Donald Trump is going to win West Virginia by? West Virginia, a very rural state. I think he'll win it by more than 40 points. I think that Donald Trump will win the state by more than 40 points. That's addressing Jaden Davis's question. Again, right? Not a single county voted for Joe Biden in the state of West Virginia. So this, considering Joe Manchin is not running this type of Republican primary in the Senate and the governors, it's really about who ends up winning the race and not about whether they can win the general election. North Carolina here, this is the most competitive state, but we don't have any significant primaries in today so far. Nebraska's going to close in like 1 hour, and we have the Maryland poll closing right now. Maryland's going to be the most interesting race. This is a bit of foreshadowing here. This is going to be the most interesting race by far, but we don't have any type of results in so far. Again, West Virginia, half an hour after poll closings, they're still stuck at 6%. I don't know what's taking them so long. Generally, they report votes faster than this. Okay, so we have the West Virginia results here. Wyoming County, right, Mason County, still a couple of similar counties here that have reported, although none of these counties are above about 30% or so reported. We're not going to see a call in West Virginia for some time based on the current trends, especially in the governor's race. Right, we see 3 colors indicating 3 different candidates are leading counties. I do believe Patrick Morsi will end up winning the Republican primary here. I think that Jim Justice will probably win around 60-30 against Alex Mooney. But again, in the Republican primary, it doesn't really matter because both of these candidates are going to win in the general election. Now going to Maryland primary, we still don't have anything. Now these are the key races to watch here, right? Maryland, no votes are in. Nebraska, no votes are in. West Virginia, Donald Trump is a projected winner, while Joe Biden is a projected winner in West Virginia. Again, these are the most contested races. In Maryland's 3rd congressional district, this is a district which is just outside of Baltimore. I believe this is a strong Biden district. It does look like Harry Dunn has already fundraised about $4 million here. He is a Capitol Police who gained pretty much fame after essentially defending the Capitol on January 6th. And that's why Democrats are running him, right? He has fundraised about $4 million. Despite being a safe blue seat, he has fundraised a lot of money in Maryland's 3rd congressional district. While we go to West Virginia here, the reason I'm not talking about West Virginia, they don't have a lot of their results in so far. We're gonna go to Maryland here because I think that Maryland is one of the more interesting ones. Well, we go to the 3rd district. This is a district that really it's just about who ends up actually winning the district. We know that a Democrat will end up representing Maryland's 3rd congressional district. We just don't know by what who will end up winning and by what margin. Also, if you're watching this live stream, be sure to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you. We're still stuck at about 0% reported in Maryland, and we go back to West Virginia now. In West Virginia, 6% of the vote is still in. Again, we don't have a lot of results so far. If you want to ask some questions here, make sure to do so. Because we don't have a lot of results to cover right now. It's kind of boring. Maryland, we still see no results. Maryland's probably going to start reporting results in like 5 minutes. So be sure to stay and watch this live stream. Again, what we're seeing here in West Virginia, Joe Biden is at 81%. That's relatively a smaller amount, considering uncommitted is not an option. The reason he is at a relatively lower amount of the actual vote is because of the fact taking them so long. Exactly, it's taking them a long time to count their ballots. I don't know why it's taking them so long. West Virginia is very sparsely populated, so it doesn't make sense that it's taking them so long to count the ballots. Right, Maryland, there are some densely populated areas around Baltimore, which makes more sense for them to count the ballots for a longer period of time. Right now, however, it's still pretty much taking forever for West Virginia and Maryland to count their ballots. 7% is in, and what we see is that Patrick Morrisey, again, getting about 62% of the vote here. Again, just for those who have just joined the stream, this is Jim Justice is essentially the former Democratic governor of the state. Jim Justice is a former Democrat who has now switched to a Republican who is the current governor. That's why this race is being hotly contested. We see some more vote here. Patrick Morrisey and Moore Capital. We're seeing that Morrisey is leading in the Panhandle area, while Moore Capital is winning in some of the rural regions. Again, this is still too early for us to make a call or prediction as of right now. The U.S. Senate here doesn't really matter who wins this race because Democrats are not going to win the race. Patrick Morrisey, I don't actually know what areas have just reported their ballots, but it does look like Mason County, Wood County, right? Just a couple of usual counties that have currently reported their ballots. Now going to Maryland, still no results. Great. It does make sense. They've only closed their ballots for like 5 minutes. Okay, is there anything else y'all want me to cover? Make sure to put it in the live chat. I'm just gonna cover it. Any questions? We literally don't have any results so far. I guess we can look at this. Interesting. The first thing I look at in the state legislature, it's a Republican who is currently at 22% as an incumbent. Let's look at the two congressional districts here. This is a Republican primary here for this district. Carol Miller against Derek Evans. I'm not sure why this race is contested, but it looks like Evans is at 35.5%. But based on the geographical divide here, it does look like the incumbent Republican will end up hanging on, just because the current areas that have reported, they're diverse type of areas, right? We see some around the Huntington, Charleston kind of suburban, exurban counties, and we also see some of the rural counties so far. I do believe Carol Miller will hang on to this district. Going to Maryland, is there any results? It doesn't look like they have anything. Maryland is the most critical out of these states. West Virginia, again in West Virginia, we do see a little bit more votes from Jackson County, but again, we're talking about 4% of the vote. Very negligible number. We can't really read much into it. It does look like, however, Jim Justice will end up winning the Republican primary, just because the only area where Alex Mooney is currently leading in is the Panhandle part of the state. And the majority of the vote is going to come from counties like Kanawha. So it does make more sense to say that Jim Justice will probably end up winning the Republican primary for the state of West Virginia. What do you have to say about the recent New York Times Siena polls, which were released yesterday? Right, I would take those polls with a grain of salt. I'm gonna pull up the New York Times later. I'm gonna pull it up right now. So I did end up making a community post about it. I'm just gonna go to New York Times about their poll. That's actually a good question. We go to New York Times. The poll did suggest again, which was recorded on my community here. Create post. I'm not gonna go there, but essentially they have 5 of the 6. Again, Trump is leading in 5 of the 6 states in the most recent New York Times Siena College poll, and I would take that with a grain of salt. However, I do believe that Trump right now is in a good position, especially because in the state of Nevada here, Trump was polling at 50% in the most recent New York Times Siena College poll. That's very promising because he got 47.7% of the vote last time. Even if every single undecided voter there breaks for Joe Biden, he would still end up losing the state of Nevada. Also in the state of Georgia there, Biden was polling about 10 points behind Donald Trump in the most recent New York Times Siena College poll. That is a bit concerning for the Democratic Party, just because of the fact that Joe Biden was able to win the state and garner 49.47% of the vote last time around. Now we go to StreamYard Studio. I'm just going to change some of the settings here. Reduce. Yep. Okay, so we're gonna look at the live results here. Again, we see some more vote. Good. 8% reported, 85.2% to 12.3% right now against in the Republican primary. While we go to the Republican primary, Jim Justice expanded his lead down to about 60-30 over Alex Mooney, a 32% margin for Jim Justice. Again, we're seeing some type of geographical divide here. Patrick Morrissey doing better in the panhandle areas, more capital doing better in the rural areas. Well, we see that in some of the more suburban counties around Huntington and Charleston, it does look like that the Chris Miller, who doesn't even have a profile picture on New York Times, does have a lead. Maryland, is there any vote for Maryland? Yeah, it's taking them forever to count these results. I also think, for the record here, I think that Trump will end up winning the presidency, but that Democrats actually have a good chance of retaining a couple of the competitive Senate races, because it does look like Democratic incumbents are overperforming Joe Biden in terms of the total ballots, in terms of their polling numbers. West Virginia, again, we're still stuck here at about 8% of the vote in. It's taking them forever to count the ballots. I believe some of the other states weren't taking that long. Nebraska, no votes in so far because they're going to close their polls in like 50 minutes. Again, no results from Maryland. We see a couple of uncontested races already called. We see that every single candidate, even if they have like a, even if they're not in an open primary, even with incumbents, there are still contested primaries. In every single primary so far, the incumbent is in a contested district. So Maryland's going to be very interesting because all these incumbent Democrats and also the one incumbent Republican, Andy Harris, all have their challengers, right? Jamie Raskin, the 7th district, the 6th district, the 5th district, all of these districts, regardless if they have an incumbent or not, there are primary challengers to each and every one of them. West Virginia is still stuck at 8% reported. Democratic primary at 7%. Again, Joe Biden right now at about 79.5% of the vote. Donald Trump at 85.2%. But that's kind of insignificant at the same time. We're going to see the Republican primary still stuck at 8%. We see a couple more rural areas. And if you're seeing counties that are breaking like 70-30 for Jim Justice, that becomes very difficult for Alex Mooney to overcome because that is a significant lead for Jim Justice. Okay, we see some more vote. The governor's race right now is the most competitive one. We see that Chris Miller is leading in 3 counties. Patrick Morrissey, who is currently leading statewide, is leading in 3, while More Capital is leading in 5. Again, it's a relatively low profile race because, again, you don't see that description by the New York Times. It's relatively insignificant by some standards. I'm just going to put up a poll here before any of the results come in from Maryland. Who do you think will win the the Democratic primary for the state of Maryland? I'm just going to put up a poll here. While we go to the state of West Virginia. Again, stuck at 8%. Not a lot of turnout. It's kind of interesting that Democratic turnout is about a bit over half of the Republican turnout, despite the fact that Joe Biden got crushed here by about 3-1 margin. However, there's nothing really to talk about there. The state of West Virginia will not be competitive. It's interesting though. West Virginia has a lot of registered Democrats who are, socially more conservative, who have not switched their voter registration, despite definitely aligning themselves more with the Republican Party than the Democratic Party. They're still registered as Republicans. They're still registered as Democrats. Sorry. Again, we're waiting for the results from Maryland, which will probably be the most significant. We're waiting for some more results. Jim Justice right now holds a significant lead over Alex Mooney. I think we're getting to a point where we can call it for Jim Justice. Mooney is not gonna win with 27.7% of the vote. The polling is looking very good for Jim Justice and also Alex Mooney. Where we're just gonna go to the 2020 presidential election results, and we're gonna go to the House races. I'm just gonna show you something, right? Alex Mooney is what is the incumbent from the second congressional district. Jim Justice is a former governor. Alex Mooney in 2020, before redistricting, was a Republican incumbent from West Virginia second congressional district. We're still waiting for more ballots here. Okay, we have a bit more, but again, Jim Justice holds a significant lead, about a 34% lead over the Republican. We see that in Patrick Morrisey's district, about a 6% difference between Morrisey and Moore Capital. The Republican primary here for Attorney General, John McCarthy, it does look like that the coalition he has built is quite significant, right? We see that he is doing quite well across the board in every single district. Now we go to, again, a bit more vote coming in, the governor's race. A couple more counties have reported their ballots. I believe let me see. Yeah, we're just waiting for more results here. Maryland, we don't have anything from Maryland. Maryland's the race here, the marquee race between David Trone and Angela Alsobrooks, which could be a more competitive general election result. I do believe in the end that Democrats will win the state of Maryland, but nevertheless, this is still an interesting primary to watch. And also, we need to watch out for how many votes does Larry Hogan end up getting in terms of the percentage, and also the Democratic and Republican primary turnout. If Republican primary turnout is actually quite high, that's a good sign for Larry Hogan because his primary is less contested, and there's more Democrats in the state than Republicans. North Carolina, we see the two districts have been called. How Weatherman for lieutenant governor has won. The auditor race here, 28% reported. It's a very close one. Now going back to West Virginia, because that's like the marquee race again. Out of the two states that have currently reported any ballots. Again, I do believe myself that David Trone will probably win the Democratic primary. Right now, with 3 votes in my poll, 2 of you say Angela Alsobrooks, and 1 says David Trone. I think Trone will win. Although he is currently behind in some of the polling, the most recent Emerson College poll from the state of Maryland had put, I believe, David Trone 5% behind Angela Alsobrooks, but I do believe that David Trone will end up winning the Democratic primary. David Trone has spent $50 million just to try and win the Senate race. He has raised $51 million, like 49 million is his own money. Angela Alsobrooks, he's the more progressive candidate. Angela Alsobrooks, I believe, is from Prince George's County, which is one of the more, one of the heavy liberal areas in the state. I'm just going to show you the Maryland primaries as a preview here. In the Maryland primaries, which we will be taking a look at, right? The polls have closed 17 minutes there, and we see that David Trone, Angela Alsobrooks. Angela Alsobrooks is from Prince George's County, the bluest county in the state. Bluer than Baltimore, bluer than Montgomery. This is a very diverse area. About half the state, more than half of the county's population are minority voters. David Trone apparently said a racial slur, which could end up hurting him in the more majority black areas, or at least plurality black areas of the state, because again, there's a lot of majority/plurality black areas in Prince George's County. That's where Angela Alsobrooks is from. She is a more progressive option. David Trone is the incumbent, essentially the incumbent from this congressional district here, which stretches from the rural areas such as Garrett County down to Frederick County and towards Montgomery County. What we're going to see Trone do well here is probably his home district, Frederick County. This is where he's going to do really well. He's also in a relatively competitive seat, but he did win his seat by about 10 points in the last election. So there is going to be a race here to replace David Trone in that district. So we're going to go back to the state of West Virginia. I think they're going to they just called it for Jim Justice. Jim Justice, I said about 5 minutes ago, I do believe Justice will end up winning, and we're getting ready to call it. They have called it at New York Times for Chief Justice over Alex Mooney. Again, the Democratic and Republican primaries, Trump is at 85%, Joe Biden is at 80%. We go to the governor race here. It does look like that Patrick Morrisey will end up winning at the end. At the rural areas in about the middle state part of the state does look like to be supporting more capital. Areas around Charleston are supporting uh, Chris Miller. Mac Warner, who is in third place with 4,555 votes, he's not leading in a single county. While we look at the Patrick Morrisey, his coalition is really about the more populated areas of the state, right? For example, Jefferson County. Okay, wow, it tightened a lot. Putnam County has came in, 12% of the vote is in. More Capital is in first place, Chris Miller in second, and Patrick Morrisey in third. Again, what's going to be a make or breaker here, I believe, is Kanawha County. I still believe Patrick Morrisey will probably end up winning, but more Capital is the point of contention. And what we see here in Putnam County here is probably an indicator of what's going to happen in Kanawha County. Okay, Chris Miller, the one without a profile picture, has taken third place over Mac Warner. Chris Miller, that is because Boone County has just came in. Relatively small counties, more sparsely populated counties. Kind of hard to believe that Trump is going to win a margin depicted by the polls. It had him winning by like 12 points. I strongly believe it wouldn't be. I strongly believe it wouldn't be that close. I think it's going to be closer. Yeah, I do believe that the state will end up being closer. I don't think that Trump is going to be winning a state like Nevada by 12 points, but I think that he'll probably win the state of Nevada. Okay, this race is tightening. Last time we checked in, about 7% difference between Patrick Morrisey and More Capital. It has tightened to about 4% between the two candidates. That's very interesting. We see that Patrick Morrisey running up huge numbers in the areas that he is leading in, while the more sparsely populated areas have came in for Chris Miller and More Capital. We're going to have to wait a bit more. Okay. We're going to go to Maryland now. I hope they have some vote. They have the first precinct in from the state of Maryland, David Trone leading against Angela Alsobrooks with the first votes that have currently came in. First votes came in, David Trone leading against Angela Alsobrooks. My prediction right now is about Trone plus 10. I'm just going to type in a chat, Trone plus 10 prediction. I think that Angela Alsobrooks has about a 1 in 3 chance, but I think that David Trone will end up winning the Democratic primary. Again, I could very well be wrong here, but David Trone, with the first votes counted, is currently leading. The incumbent from the Maryland's 5th Congressional District, Stephen Hoyer, although only 3% of the vote is in, he'll probably end up hanging on. Now I'm just going to look at the presidential numbers here. I believe this might be a... Wait, what county is it? Yeah, I believe when I looked at it that this was a Republican county. St. Mary's County here. We have a couple votes there, about 31% of the vote in from St. Mary's County. Steny Hoyer is probably going to end up winning his Democratic primary, and that's not super surprising. Larry Hogan here, he's at about 62.4% of the vote, to Robin Ficker, who does not even have a profile picture, at 24.1%. The first votes in from the Republican primary does show that Donald Trump has 78.5%, while Joe Biden has 84.4%. Okay, we have some more vote. Great, we have some more vote from the state of Maryland. That is great. We still only have one county in from the Democratic primary in Maryland in the Senate level, but we have 2 counties for the presidential results for both sides. I'm just looking at the Democratic primary here for Maryland. This is the marquee race. I think they can call it for Joe Biden and Donald Trump. More so probably call it for Joe Biden because, again, right, there's not going to be an overwhelming number of voters voting uncommitted. I'm just going to look at the chat. Is there any questions? Nope. Okay. Going back to state Maryland, I'm just waiting for more results here in the Senate primaries. because that is the most significant thing right now. Again, do note, David Trone will probably do a bit better in the rural areas. Angela also Brooks will do a bit better in the more urban areas because David Trone is more moderate and Angela also Brooks is more progressive. Just looking at all these primaries here, there's a lot of primaries. Again, pretty much every single race is contested except two solidly blue districts. Republicans only ran one single candidate. Again, with the current votes, we don't have a lot, right? We don't have a lot. Larry Hogan leads in St. Mary's. David Trone also leads in St. Mary's. If you want the Republicans to win, you probably want Angela also Brooks to win because he is less like you know. Election analysis and prediction, which is not me by the way, +6 for Trone, I believe. Pretty fair. I think about a 8 to 12% margin of victory for Trone to me is the most likely scenario. 8 to 12%. That's my prediction. Going to Nebraska, we don't have any results because the polls have not closed. They're going to close in about half an hour. North Carolina, they're a lot faster than West Virginia, despite having much more votes to count. 37% is reported Hal Weatherman has won. We go to West Virginia here. I'm going to just look at the governor's race because we don't have a lot from the state of Maryland. Patrick Morrisey leads over Moore Capital. As we speak, there is a bit more vote. Patrick Morrisey against Shelley Moore Capital. Not Shelley Moore Capital, that's another person. But also, when we look at the stream here, please subscribe to EPAA for more election coverage. Let's get to 222 by the end of the stream. Very unlikely, but let's hope we get there. Anyways, for the Republican primary in the state of West Virginia, we're going to continue our coverage. Maryland. In the state of Maryland here, a bit more vote. Angela also Brooks is winning Talbot County, but that's, insignificant. There's not going to be a lot of vote from there because that is a more conservative county, I believe, without a lot of vote. Talbot County, it's kind of competitive, but again, doesn't really matter. 8% difference between David Trone and Angela also Brooks, and also about a 38% difference between Larry Hogan and his nearest opponent. 6 to 7 point victory for Trone. That's pretty fair. Again, we're not. The state of Maryland is reporting even less results than the state of West Virginia. We're just gonna have to wait for more votes to be tabulated. Going to the state of West Virginia here, we have the first votes from Ohio County, which is where Wheeling is located. Patrick Morrisey in the lead. About 5% difference between Patrick Morrisey and Moore Capital. That is a very slim margin. Definitely both these candidates could win. Even Chris Miller at this point, just because of the fact there's only a few votes tabulated, he could even win. But I do believe that this is a race between Morrisey and Moore Capital. Again, we look at the contested House races here. Miller against Carol Miller and Derek Evans. Again, we only have about less than half of the vote in from every single county, and this is actually shaping up to be a bit closer than I thought. I thought this would be a 70-30 race at the most competitive level, but right now it does look like there is more contention than I expected. Maryland, we have a bit more vote counted, and we see that David Trone is leading in Hartford County with 1% of the vote in. Again, they're taking forever to count these votes. I don't know if this is the in-person vote or the mail-in ballots. I believe the mail-in ballots will favor also Brooks a bit more, and also the in-person vote will favor Trone a bit more. That's my prediction. I don't know what type of vote is in right now. Which state do you want me to cover? Anyone in the chat? Because I don't know which state to cover either. We go to the Wyoming Democratic primary. Biden's only at 76.4% right now. That is a pretty small margin for Joe Biden, But again, there's a lot of ancestral Democrats who have not changed their party registration. Instead, these are voters that will probably end up voting for the Republican Party either way, those who are voting for Jason Palmer or Dean Phillips. Again, we look at the governor Republican primary, about a 5.3% difference between Patrick Morrisey and More Capital. If you just look at this county map here, you might be able to assume here that it's probably More Capital or Chris Miller that's winning, but the areas that Patrick Morrisey are leading in are currently more populated than the areas that More Capital and Chris Miller are leading in. We go to Maryland. Is there a bit more vote? There's still not a lot of vote. Again, we can't read much into these early numbers, and if anything, these results show that this will be a competitive race between David Trone and Angela Alsobrooks. If you haven't already, please like the stream, so it will help my channel. Thank you very much. Anyways, let's go. So Maryland, a bit more of the vote is in, but that is only on the Democratic side for President, Carrollton County. More conservative area of the state. Okay, I see Todd, our first and only channel member right now. Trone spent $41 million on his own primary. It's a record. The guy lost in 2004, spending more than $24 million on a primary race. That is very true, and thanks for that information. That's very true, right? Trone poured, as I did mention previously, more than $40 million into his own race. And he also got about $78 million in fundraising. He has fundraised about $50 million. More than $40 million is his own money. Trone again is the representative from this district over here, which does cover Frederick and some of the more conservative counties in the state. Again, Angela Alsobrooks is a Prince George County executive. Again, Trone did spend a lot of his own money, so it'd be really embarrassing if he actually ends up losing the Democratic primary just based on the fact that he has spent so much money. Less than 1% is in. Caroline County has reported some ballots. Angela Alsobrooks with a lead. What's interesting is that none of these candidates are leading by more than 10%. Neither Trone or Alsobrooks is leading by more than 10% in any of the 4 counties that are reported so far, but these are early results, right? What we see that among the more populated Democratic areas, Baltimore County, Baltimore City, Montgomery County, Prince George's County, have all not reported any ballots. Again, what we're seeing is that Larry Hogan, he's not having as solid of a lead as I thought he would be. He's still going to win the Republican primary, no doubt, but Robin Ficker, who does not even have a profile picture, is at 25.6%. We're just gonna wait for more results. Is there anything you want to say? Chat in the chat. Make sure to do so. I still think that Trone will probably win. We're waiting for some more vote to be counted. Let's see. We probably have a bit more from West Virginia now. 18% reported. That's still a relatively slimmer number. Jim Justice right now again leading. We see Patrick Morrisey also is leading in his race over More Capital. Okay, first county that Mike Stewart is leading over John McCarthy in, that is Lincoln County, 54% to 46%. But I do believe that you can pretty much call it for John McCarthy because, again, 17% is reported and he's only leading in 1 county. Okay, we have some first votes from Campbell County. This is where Cunnington is, one of the more densely populated areas in the state of West Virginia. It does look like Chris Miller is running in first place, More Capital running in second, and Patrick Morrisey in third. That's some good news for Chris Miller and More Capital. Okay, we saw some more vote from, I believe, Marion County probably. I'm not sure which area just reported, but it does look like the gap is again tightening to about 4.5 points. But I still believe that for this prediction for the governor's race, I think Patrick Morrisey will win by like 3% when all is said and done. Going to the Maryland race here, again with less than 1% of the votes in 4 counties, no change so far. it does look like every single county is producing a very competitive result. All these counties, we have not seen a candidate lead by more than 10%. Okay, we have a lot of the vote. Oh, Baltimore County. This is huge. This is huge. 50% to 45% in favor of David Trone over Angela Alsobrooks. This is huge. Baltimore County. Again, we do see Larry Hogan at 72%. Not super surprising. Larry Hogan will win this race, no doubt about that. But this is huge on the Democratic primary side. David Trone right now leading over Angela Alsobrooks 50% to 45%. This is huge because this tells us about the dynamic of this race. Baltimore County, one of the most populated counties in the state. Um, Again, for the Democratic primary purposes, Montgomery County and Prince George's County, those are the only two counties that have more vote than Baltimore County. Baltimore County, third most populated county in the entire state in terms of the Democratic primary electorate. And what we see here, David Trone 50% to Angela Alsobrooks 44.5%. Again, this is going to be a very competitive race. Baltimore County, again, huge population center from the state of Maryland, has reported David Trone up against Angela Alsobrooks 50 to 45. Again, Larry Hogan, you see about just this one county, Baltimore County, is about 15% of the total votes that will come in this in this Democratic primary and in this Republican primary. The county is also the most reflective of the state overall. Joe Biden won the state of Maryland by 33. Joe Biden won Baltimore County by 27. This is the most reflective county of the state as a whole. And right now, what we do see is that Larry Hogan. Wait, Angela Alsobrooks has taken the lead. Oh, this is also huge. This is also huge here. Prince George's County. This is where Angela Alsobrooks is. This is her home county. Angela Alsobrooks leading against David Trone 69% to 29%. This is huge. This is huge. Right? This is the home county for Angela Alsobrooks. And she has about a 40% advantage over David Trone. And it just decreased because we saw more vote from Howard County. It does look like David Trone has a lead over there. We see about a 12% gap between David Trone and Angela Alsobrooks. Alsobrooks is leading in a very critical county, Prince George's County, 70-30. I'm going to get a sip of water here. I'll be right back. We're going to take a 1-minute break. Okay, I'm back here for the Maryland primary results here. What we see is that Angela Alsobrooks against David Trone. David Trone is behind by 12,000 votes. This is not unexpected because, again, one of the first areas to report is Prince George's County. This is Angela Alsobrooks' home, and this is where she serves as an executive. So not surprising that she has a lead. Whoa, that's a lot of vote. That's a lot of vote. Holy crap. Montgomery County. Okay, this is good news for David Trone. Although it's only an 8% lead, that shows Angela Alsobrooks doesn't have as much appeal in the other counties across the state. What we're also seeing in this primary over here is that there is a lot of vote, right? There's a lot of vote in from Montgomery County, and right now that's favoring David Trone, although not by this astounding dominating margin for it is for Angela Alsobrooks. Okay, wow, that's a lot of vote. That is a lot of vote. They just dumped a lot of vote across the state of Maryland, and right now what we see is that David Trone is leading in pretty much everywhere, right? He's leading in pretty much every single county. They just released a huge batch of votes. Joe Biden is a projected winner. Donald Trump is the projected winner in their respective primaries. Angela Alsobrooks leads over David Trump by about 5,000 votes or 3 percentage points. It was about a 20% lead for Angela Alsobrooks, but it has tightened with more vote coming in. Frederick County, this is the county I'm highlighting right now. David Trone has a 47% lead over Angela Alsobrooks. This is his home county right now, with pretty much every county reported except one, Calvert County. Angela Alsobrooks has about a 1.3% lead over David Trone. What we're also seeing here is in Larry Hogan's primary. Um, Larry Hogan is pretty much going to end up winning. We all know that for sure now. We see that he is winning in pretty much all the counties, especially in the more liberal areas across the state. However, New York Times has not called it, and I'm not going to rush with it. Actually, I'm going to call it right now for Larry Hogan. EPA projects that Larry Hogan is the projected winner for the Larry Hogan wins Republican primary, wins GOP primary. EPA. Yeah, Larry Hogan's going to end up winning the GOP primary, as the EPA just called in the comment section, live streaming this video, and boom, just a couple seconds later, Larry Hogan has been called the winner in the Republican primary. I called it just a couple seconds before New York Times did. Who do I think will win right now in the Democratic primary as more of the vote has been counted? I still think that David Trone will end up winning, though the margin I think now is closer to about 5 points. But I think it's more definitive now that David Trone will end up winning because Prince George's County has a bit more vote in it than everywhere else. And also, again, the only three counties that Angela Alsobrooks is winning. Prince George's County is her home, Baltimore City, and also Charles County. But I still think that David Trone will end up winning. If he does lose, that means there's a lot of black voters and those minority groups of voters who have supported Angela Alsobrooks because of a racial slur that David Trone did say over the course of his campaign. Okay, we see Andy Harris probably going to hang on to his district over here. What we're also going to see here are the incumbents. The third district, Harry Dunn, in this district, he is a Capitol police officer trying to end up winning a Democratic primary in this district. He's leading in both counties that have reported annual results. We go to the Democratic primary. Steny Hoyer probably going to win his district. Again, right, it looks like all of the Democratic incumbents will end up hanging on to their districts. And just like looks like a Capitol police officer will be the next representative. Again, this is a race that we're going to follow. This is a race that we're going to follow because in the Democratic primary here, Harry Dunn against some of the other candidates. Harry Dunn is a was a Capitol police officer who was there on January 6th. As you can see, who gained renown for defending the Capitol on January 6th, and one of the best known of the 22 Democrats who are competing for the seat. Right now, 12% of the vote is in, and Harry Dunn does have a lead, although it's narrow, just a 300 vote gap in favor of him. Now we go to some of the other results here from the state of Maryland. They dumped a lot of vote in 2 minutes, and now they're kind of stuck here at about 24% of the vote in. The counties my mouse is hovering over, Garrett County, Allegheny County, Washington County, and Frederick County, these are all the areas where essentially we're talking about David Trone and his home district. His home district does end up stretching a little bit into Montgomery County. I'm just going to show you some of the results here. So wait, I'm just going to show you 2022 House elections. I'm just going to show you where David Trone's district is. So David Trone's home district here is in the state of Maryland. In the state of Maryland here, this is David Trone's home district, right? This district is essentially where Angela Alsobrooks resides in, and this is a district where David Trone is. So Trone did win his district by about 10 points. It just stretched mostly into Frederick County and a little bit into the Democratic stronghold right here. 24% of the vote is in. We go to the state of Maryland. We're just going to be waiting for a bit more results because we don't have that much right now, but still. I still think that Trone will win by about 4 to 5 points when all is said and done. We see here, right, this is David Trone's district. I'm just going to pull it up. This is the most competitive district out of all of the districts in the state of Maryland. But we see that in the state of Maryland, David Trone against Leo Parent. Trone won in his district. His district does take in Montgomery County, which is this. You see this blue county over here. This dark blue county. This is a county where he's leading in. He's leading heavily in his own district. We still don't have a lot of vote here, but essentially we have vote from every single county, right? Angela Alsobrooks leading in three of the most liberal counties in the state. When I say three of the most liberal counties here, we're just going to take a look at the 2020 presidential election results. She's leading in Prince George's County, her home county. She's leading in Charles County, and she's also leading in Baltimore City. Although that's only three counties, those are three of the most populated counties across the state. Especially Prince George's County, the most populated county in terms of a Democratic primary, and also Baltimore, which is again a Democratic stronghold. Two of the most liberal counties in the state are currently falling in for Angela Alsobrooks. I don't know why it says latest results from right now, because it does not look like they have a lot of results in right now. We go to the state of Nebraska, no vote in so far, polls close in 15 minutes. West Virginia, again, we don't have a lot of vote for West Virginia, but Jim Justice does have a lead over Alex Mooney, and again, he has been called the winner. Going to governor's race here, the margin has widened a little bit to about 7%, with more of the vote coming in. Again, a geographical divide here. Again, now I think that Patrick Morrissey is definitely going to end up winning here, most likely because there's still some panhandle counties that left to report. But again, Kanawha County still not reported. And I'm just going to type it at the prediction in the chat. Uh, more. This is just my prediction. Morrissey plus 4. Morrissey plus 4 in. And again, I'm streaming while typing the chat, so I might make some spelling mistakes. Okay, in the Republican primary in the state of Maryland, unsurprisingly, Donald Trump is not doing so well in the bluer areas of the state. This is not that surprising. We go to Prince George's County again. These are the more bluer areas of the state, and it does make sense that Democrats are crossing over and voting in the Republican primary, perhaps even against Larry Hogan, so that they could get a less electable candidate and make the race less competitive. About 2,000 votes again separate Angela Alsobrooks and David Trone, but the reporting has slowed down. Are there any questions y'all want me to answer? If you do, please put it in the chat. David Trone, Angela Alsobrooks. Okay, so we have 24% of the vote in. Just a recap. This is pretty competitive. Trone has been sweeping all the rural areas of the state. This is his home district. He's doing very well in his home district. And essentially, Angela Alsobrooks is doing very well in her home area of the state and also Baltimore City, where a lot of the vote, where in Democratic primary, those are the areas where there could be a lot of the vote in. So I'm just looking at the stream here. Okay, so we're just going to be looking at this, right? Maryland's Maryland's 6th congressional district. I believe there's also an open primary there. Wait, we have some more vote here. From Anna Aldraw County, it does look like Sarah Alfref has taken the lead by pretty much doing very well in her home county in the state. Jamie Raskin is the projected winner. Mo Fayed is the projected winner. This is also a district we should look at. Because of the fact that this is again a district that is more competitive in the general election, especially when Trump pretty much stepped and is going to run for the Senate race. I'm not sure why they're just stuck at 24% reported. 2,000 votes separate Angela Alsobrooks and David Trone. We're just waiting for more results at this point. It's getting kind of tiring to see the fact that there are no results coming in, and we're definitely not going to be able to make a projection based on the current numbers we have right now. I'm just going to look at my stream here. Just going to wait for more and more votes end up coming in right now. So for the Maryland primary here, again, we're stuck at this number. Nebraska, they haven't closed their polls yet. North Carolina, Hal Weatherman projected winner, and Knott is the projected winner in his district with 59% of the estimated vote in. In West Virginia, Joe Biden, again, not doing too well in the area. Oh, we have some more vote in West Virginia. Why don't we have it for the governor's race, though? I'm interested to see who ends up winning Kanawha County, which could be a decider in deciding who ends up winning in this primary at the end of the day. Why do you still have your tilt margins less than 2%? A lot of usually have it under a point. That mean then this whole margin is kind of useless because, in my opinion, right, if you just have it as under a point, not a lot of states will go into tilt margin, and the lean margin has a larger range of between 1 and 5%. That's quite different. A 5% margin is relatively solid. A 1% margin is extremely competitive. Waiting for more results. Um, Whoever wins Kanawha County could have a better chance in the West Virginia governor's race. Nebraska, Maryland. Um, okay, we have a bit more vote from Maryland, but not a lot. It's a 1.1% difference. Angela Alsobrooks has extended her lead to about 2,122 votes. We see all the candidates here. It's Angela Alsobrooks versus David Trone. Very competitive race. The three counties that Angela Alsobrooks is leading in are Prince George's County, Charles County, and and Baltimore City. Notably, all three of these candidates vote. All three of these counties voted to the left of the state overall. Angela Alsobrooks obviously being the more progressive candidate, and she's netting about 15,000 votes in just Prince George's County, and also about 3,000 votes in Baltimore City. Right? Um, we look at Prince George's County. That is the most significant thing in the state overall. Prince George's County, one of the most densely populated counties across the state, and this is where again Angela Alsobrooks is running up the biggest margins in. That is Prince George's County. Pretty much everywhere else, we see a big lead for David Trone, especially the rural areas. Right, Trone is the more kind of uh, establishmentarian option. That's why he's doing better in some of the more rural areas. He's also winning in Baltimore County, which is quite impressive, as that is quite important for a candidate to end up doing to win a Democratic primary in Maryland. And he's also winning in Montgomery County, though by a lesser margin. The Democratic primary here is critical to see who ends up facing against Larry Hogan. David Trone is the more electable option. Angela Alsobrooks is more progressive. In a race for Senate that could be competitive, this primary is also critical to see who ends up winning the ultimate race for the United States Senate in the Democratic primary from the state of Maryland. Again, we're looking at this, right? The third congressional district, pretty much the only semi-competitive competitive district. Uh, we're gonna go here. Harry Dunn is now trilling. He is the Capitol Police officer. Well, we see that Sarah Ulf is currently leading. It's really a race between these two. All these other candidates, we see there's a huge list of candidates currently pretty much in tabulation, and it's really a race between the top two: is Sarah Ulref and Harry Dunn. We go to Maryland here, 24% reported. Again, we're still stuck at these numbers. Nebraska, we don't have any vote in right now. North Carolina, again, nothing really there. And Joe Biden and Donald Trump in the Republican primary and Democratic primary in the state of West Virginia. I'm just gonna be looking at the stream. Okay, so when we are looking at the West Virginia results here, Patrick Morrisey against Moore Capital in the Republican primary governor's race. We're looking at this. Patrick Morrisey has about a 4.8% advantage. We have seen Kanawha County starting to report its ballots. This is the most dense area of the state. Moore Capital has a lead. Chris Miller is in second, and Patrick Morrisey is in third. These counties over here, they're pretty densely populated. Berkeley County as well. Jefferson County, these are very densely populated, heavy Patrick Morrisey counties. We see a bit more vote. Right now, it's really a race between Patrick Morrisey and Moore Capital. Okay, I'm just answering some of the questions. Okay, so we're looking at this. We go to North Carolina, right? Not a lot of vote is in Nebraska. We look at the Democratic primary here, Joe Biden at 90%, uncommitted at 7.5%, and Donald Trump here at 75%. Against Haley is about 25%. Again, he's Donald Trump is not doing as well in the more urban areas. This does make sense because, again, Democrats, there are some voters who are voting against Donald Trump in the Republican primaries. Okay, so we're still stuck at 24% in the Democratic primary, which is kind of annoying because I do want to see a bit more vote. Nebraska, Joe Biden, Dean Phillips. North Carolina here, 52% of the estimated vote is in. The state of West Virginia, again, really the only state that is currently reporting even some ballots is a governor's race in West Virginia, and even that race is right now, kind of lagging in terms of their vote reporting. We're just waiting for a bit more vote. Are any of you still watching the stream? If not, I can just end it right now. They have not updated the Democratic Maryland race. I'm actually going to just look at another website because, again, right, it's taking them forever to update the Maryland race. I'm not sure why. It does look like the vote totals are just lagging a little bit. I'm just going to go to Maryland, the primary 2024. 2024. That's insignificant. Okay, I'm gonna go to Maryland. I'm gonna go use the Washington Post. So I have 4.4% reported. I think it's the results are not wrong. It's just the fact that the results are kind of lacking a little bit. It's just that they're taking forever to count the votes. Not that there's the vote totals or the website is actually malfunctioning or lagging. It's just the fact that it's taking forever for them to actually count the ballots. Trone. I don't know why it says no clear leader. That doesn't make sense. I guess these are areas where David Trone has a huge lead. I don't know what's happening. I don't know why Washington Post is the graphics from Washington Post are so weird. Let's check NBC News. Maryland. I think they have the same numbers as the New York Times. Yeah. I don't think there's anything wrong right there. So Maryland 24% reported. They're still kind of stuck. I guess that's why we're losing viewers because there's not a lot of vote right now coming in. We're probably going to end tonight's stream without seeing a winner declared in Maryland. That's very likely right now. 37 to 28% in this district over here. Dunn again is a Capitol Police officer who is running for this district after he gained a lot of fame. Oh, we did see a little bit more vote reported. That is a good sign because that means perhaps we see a bit more vote coming out in some of the other marquee races in Maryland. It's so okay, we see a bit more vote. Good. We see a bit more vote. A bit more vote has been reported in this district in this Democratic primary. More vote is coming in soon. I hope. I think they're starting to. Don't lead the stream. They're starting to report a bit more votes. When I'm tracking the numbers here, Joe Biden's numbers have increased a little bit, suggesting they're probably starting to report some more votes. Exactly, we see some more votes. Okay. Angela Alsobrooks' lead has extended over David Trone. What area just reported their votes though? I think they just reported a little bit. I'm not actually sure where they reported their votes. We have to wait and see when they scan the results. We're up to 25% reported, and good sign because we were stuck at 24% previously. Now we're up to 25% of the vote, and David Trone is down against Angela Alsobrooks by 3,003 votes. What we see in the Democratic primary is about 203,000 votes in turnout, while in the Republican primary, about 90,000 votes. A similar percentage of the vote is reported. It does look like that this is a extremely close race. I still think David Trone will win, but now my prediction is closer to about David Trone plus 3, or to about. Yeah, it does look like this race is a lot tighter than I thought. I always thought that David Trone was just gonna win. It looks like he should not take this race for granted. His racial slur is probably end up hurting him right now. But is this the mail-in ballots or the in-person vote? I'm not actually very sure. If this is the mail-in vote, it looks fine for David Trone. I think that's fine for him, right? But if this was the election day vote, the group of votes where he's supposed to do the best in, that's a bit concerning for David Trone. I want to see some of the other YouTubers and their streams, but I'm afraid it's going to get copyrighted or something, so I'm not going to do that right now. So my current prediction is about Trone plus 4. That is my prediction, but I don't know what type of vote is in. I'm just waiting for more vote. It's taking like forever for them to count the ballots. Nebraska. Okay, we have a bit more. We have a bit of vote from Nebraska. Omaha County. That is the most significant part of this puzzle. Lancaster County. It makes sense that Donald Trump is not doing too well there. Don Bacon will probably Deb Fisher against Aaron Kowalski. Pete Rickens is also leading in his race. There's a lot of state legislature. I think that you have to run as independents in the state legislature. Tony Vargas not contested. Dave Oss and Daniel Arbs, that's not very significant. We're seeing here Don Bacon in this Omaha-based district. We're going to be seeing if he is able to hang on. Democrats have an uncontested primary there. Again, polls have closed in Nebraska, unlike the state of Maryland, which took 20 minutes to even report their first ballots. Essentially the state of Nebraska has reported some ballots. Now, Mike Flood in his district, Flood is going to win. That's unsurprising. We go to at least we're moving things along right here. Joe Biden at 94.2% of the vote, and Dean Phillips at just about 5%. Now, the interesting thing about the state of Nebraska, although this is a heavily Republican state, it does have one competitive district, Nebraska's 2nd congressional district. We're just going to have to see how much opposition there is to Joe Biden and Donald Trump. We have Omaha in. That is some big news. Joe Biden at 94%, Donald Trump at 68%. Okay, that looks good for Joe Biden, right? That looks good. This is the first batch of votes. I actually think this is probably the early vote, but it doesn't really matter, right? What we see is that Donald Trump is at 68%, Joe Biden is at 94%. Now, something to emphasize on here. This is more of the again, right? Okay, they've called it for Joe Biden, Donald Trump. Like these are some early ballots, and that Nikki Haley is a more well-known name. Then someone like Dean Phillips, but still, that's some good numbers for Joe Biden because there's some less opposition for Joe Biden as opposed to someone like Donald Trump right now. 25% reported. Yeah, they haven't gotten any new votes from Maryland right now. They've called a couple of races, but yeah, we have to wait for more vote from Maryland. If they just don't report, I'm just going to end the stream. 15% is in from the state of Nebraska. And the U.S. Senate, they haven't called it a U.S. Republican primary special. They haven't called that. The districts here, Don Bacon, Mike Flood, and Adrian Smith, I think all three of them will probably hang on to their districts. I'm pretty excited to stream this election night, but when it comes, and when we actually see the results, it becomes less interesting because pretty much everything went to plan. Everything is going accordingly to our plans right now. It does look like that Angela Alsobrooks might actually have a chance in Democratic primary for Maryland Senate. However, she is the less electable option, so not a good sign for Democrats. We're just waiting for more vote here in Nebraska, right? Nebraska, they have quite a substantial number already in compared to Maryland. 46% of the vote is in the Democratic primary. Joe Biden is at 94.2% against Steve Phillips at 5.8%. 15% of the vote is in for the Republican primary. Why is there such a big difference? The thing about this is that what we're seeing is that there's a lot more of the vote reported in the Democratic primary because, again, more of the vote is centered around Douglas County and also Lancaster County, which are in. And in the Republican primary, there's a lot more vote from the rural areas. 25% in, 26% in. Yeah, it's taking forever. Baltimore Dem, it looks like the incumbent is actually losing against a challenger, which is quite interesting. It looks like that the incumbent Democrat Scott is losing against the challenger Dixon with about 21% of the vote in. We're just looking at these results, right? 25% in, nothing very interesting right now. Is there anything y'all want me to cover? Waiting for more votes. We have been live for 1 hour and 18 minutes. That's quite a long time. I'm probably going to end it. Oh, we have some more vote. Okay. Angela Alsobrooks has extended her lead with a bit more vote counted from Prince George's County. But the margin between those two candidates have actually expanded, right? This time I actually know where they have reported their ballots. It's from Prince George's County. Angela Alsobrooks with a 4,000 vote lead over David Trone, but it's taking them again forever to count these ballots. I've been sitting here for like 20 minutes and they've reported about 10,000 ballots. Not the speediest for Maryland, considering they have a lot of votes to count. In the Democratic primary, they have like 800,000 at least to end up counting. Okay, we see the Democratic and Republican primaries here. Jim Justice has been called the winner, Patrick Morrissey against More Capital with about a 5% deficit, with 48% of the estimated vote reported. But I do expect some of these numbers to end up tightening a bit more when more of the vote is counted, because we do see areas like Wayne County, areas like McDonald County, right? Also, some of these areas in Middle State, they're not going to go for Patrick Morrissey. They're going to go for More Capital or Chris Miller. The state of North Carolina here, 60% is in. Nebraska, we don't have that much of the vote in. Maryland, 26% is now in, which is a good thing, right? They're actually moving on to totals. Right now, it does look like Larry Hogan's going to end up having about a 40% victory over the Democratic Party, over the second candidate here, which is Robin Ficker. Angela Alsobrooks, again, about a 2% lead over David Trone, or right now, 4,389 votes. Okay, so we're just going to look at these numbers here. What are the areas that have reported the least vote? Essentially, what are the areas that are fully reported? we don't have any areas that are fully reported. Queen Anne's County is the county with I believe the highest number of votes currently in. Oh, I have no idea where that is. Okay, here. Right, they have 52% of the vote in. David Trone is ahead. Prince George's County, you can see, is about the middle of the list. This is where Angela Also Brooks is running up the biggest numbers. Prince George's County. Right, they're about a third to a fourth in. Okay, we have some counties here. We have some comments here. If Trump wins Nebraska's second congressional district, he could still win the presidency by securing victories in Georgia and Arizona. I think that is true. And Nevada, yeah. Even if he loses Michigan, Arizona, and Pennsylvania, assuming he does not lose anywhere else, that is true. If Joe Biden wins Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, but loses Nevada compared to the 2016 election, and also does not win Nebraska second, that does give Trump a 269 to 269, enough to pretty much secure a tie, which is enough for Trump to end up winning the presidency. Going to Maryland Senate here, we're still stuck at 26% reported. What we're seeing here is again Prince George's County. This is the area that's most significant for Angela Also Brooks' chances of actually winning this race. Again, that is about 29% reported, which is pretty much on par with the Democratic primary result overall. David Trone against Angela Also Brooks. Now, the area with the least amount of vote in, I think, is from where's Somerset? Somerset County is over here, right? With just 9% of the vote in. So it does look still pretty good for David Trone, considering his home base, Frederick County. This is his home base. This is the core of his support. Only 9% of the vote is in from Frederick County. This is the core of David Trone's agenda and chances of victory in the state of Maryland, and they're only at 9% of the vote in. However, Washington County, again, another core of his support, that they are about 45% reported. Larry Hogan has won the Republican primary. The more conservative Republicans have gotten a little bit more vote from like the most conservative areas of the state. Let's see, because we still don't have a lot of vote. I'm getting tired streaming this live stream with so few ballots counted. Okay, a bit more vote from the Republican primary. Lincoln County. Ed Fisher has been called the winner. Pete Rickens has not been. But we all know Pete Rickens is going to win his race. Again, 3 Republican incumbents being challenged by other candidates. Not super surprising over there. They're all going to win their re-elections. 30% is in the Republican primary, 26% in the Democratic primary. We see Democrats are probably going to end up, Republicans are going to end up having Larry Hogan at the top of their ticket. Angela Also Brooks, again, a 2% advantage over David Trone. I can't believe how slow they are at reporting these ballots. In West Virginia, half of the vote has been counted. It does look like that Patrick Morrisey will end up winning, but this is a very close race. We're not comfortable calling it at EPA decision desk. And it does look like in the Democratic primary in the state of West Virginia, Glenn Elliott will end up winning. We're going to call that right now in the comment section. This is not a good night for covering state primaries, as at least 70% of each state in the /R population is where incumbents rule. The only Maryland Senate race is the competitive race. That is very true. I'm just going to pull up that comment. Right, that is very true right now. Only Maryland Senate is the only competitive race. We also had the possibility of seeing that the West Virginia Senate race could have been competitive, but it does not look like that is the case, right? Jim Justice easily got blew everyone else out of the water. The governor's race in the Republican primaries is also somewhat competitive, but I guess people don't really care about that race. Primary, yeah. We don't have a lot of these competitive races. Anyways, I'm just gonna close that. We go to the we're gonna see Maryland. Do they not have? I think they have a bit more vote right now. Oh, we have a bit more vote in. There was a bit more from Kent County, and now Angela also Brooks has taken a lead in Kent County. They also got a bit more vote from Prince George's County, the core base of Angela also Brooks. She has extended his lead slightly. Baltimore City, Charles County. I think they also got a bit more vote from Baltimore County. As a result, David Trone's lead over Angela Olsobrooks has shrunk in Baltimore County. So good results so far for Angela Olsobrooks. If anything, right now it actually looks like Angela Olsobrooks might be the one who ends up actually winning the Democratic primary. And looks like I might have been wrong over there. We have 10 votes, David Trone 50%, Angela Olsobrooks 50%. I'd argue right now it actually looks like a coin toss right now. I have no idea who's going to win this. This is very, very competitive. Is there any races that y'all want me to cover? There just isn't a lot of vote right now in between Alsobrooks and I'm just gonna pull up the comment section. Between Alsobrooks and Trone, what are the differences? I don't know too much about these candidates, but I'm just from their support. It seems like that Trone is more moderate. You're right, Trone is more moderate, right? How do we know that Trone is more moderate? First off, he does have a record. He is a sitting congressman. Secondly, we look at the Maryland race here. Well, we see that Angela Alsobrooks is leading in the more progressive areas of the state, right? There was one problem with David Trone. He said a racial slur in his campaign, and that has hurt him with minority voters. David Trone is more moderate because he is from a more competitive district. As you saw, he won his House race by single digits. While we're talking about Angela Alsobrooks here, she is a more progressive candidate. All she needs to do is pretty much appeal to progressives in her home county, which is Prince George's County. In short terms, Angela Olsobrooks is more progressive, David Trone is more moderate. Any other questions, feel free to put it in chat. Also, there is a bit more vote in the primary between David Trone and Angela Olsobrooks. Angela Olsobrooks right now, her lead is sitting at 6,000 and about 755 votes. We're just gonna go to the Steve full race results. We see the vote again. We're not having a lot of vote in Frederick County, which is why perhaps Trone is right now down. It does look like he will do a bit better with the remaining vote just based on the geographical location of where the vote is remaining. This race is going to be a nail biter right now. They should. West Virginia. We have one competitive race in West Virginia. 53% of the estimated vote is in. Patrick Morsi, 4.3% lead over Moore Capital. We're still going to emphasize on Maryland, but Maryland also doesn't have a lot of their vote in right now. We're going to see an update on Maryland's 3rd Congressional District. Sarah Alref is currently leading. The Republican primary doesn't really matter. You can just see the turnout difference. This is a heavily blue seat. Okay, so yeah, we don't have a lot of races right now to cover. It's not really that interesting right now. shown the more moderate candidate is leading in the more moderate areas and the more conservative areas in the state, while also Brexit is leading in the more majority minority or plurality minority cities and precincts in around Baltimore, Prince George's County, and Charles County. Joe Biden has gotten 66% of the delegates. Uncommitted is probably not going to secure any delegates. Nebraska, Joe Biden's probably going to get pretty much all of the delegates there. And they have called it for Deb Fischer, Pete Rickens. We see Don Bacon 70-30 against Dan Free right now with the votes counted. Maryland. That's where, again, the emphasis is on. 27% in. I thought they'd get more vote in by now. I'm probably going to end the stream at 9:30, assuming there's not a lot of vote that's being dumped in, because it does look like that the reporting is very slow. I'm not sure why that is the case. In no way is turnout this low, right? There's no way there's only 222,000 votes. Estimated remaining vote. I guess that is important. Actually, I'm going to use the New York Times estimated remaining vote if they have that option, because I don't think they have. Yeah, this is where we look at the vote and where the majority of the vote is left. We see Montgomery, about 131,000 votes are left. We go to Baltimore, 73,000 votes are left. Baltimore County, 73,000. Prince George's, 104,000. We see a couple remaining votes across the state. Frederick County, there's 25,000. That is pretty much the Democratic candidate, David Trone's home base. Okay, we have a bit more vote. Where did that come from? I think a lot of that came from Charles County. Okay. It does look like Angela Alsobrooks' lead has expanded to 9,500 and 38 votes. A bit more vote came, I believe, from Charles County. I don't think the vote that just came in was from Prince George's. Most of it was from Charles County, and for some reason, Angela Alsobrooks got like 80% of that dump. Okay, okay. I'm gonna pull up another comment here. That's confusing because Frederick County area has reported less, but DC Baltimore area has more estimated vote left. Let's see. It's just because of how population is distributed, right? Because when we look at Frederick County, I'm just going to pull up the 2020 presidential election results. Frederick County only has about 77,000 votes for Joe Biden. While when we go to Prince Williams County, there was 380,000 votes cast, right? This is where it looks concerning for David Trone and more optimistic for Angela Alsobrooks. It's the fact that again in the air she's losing pretty much across the state. She's losing about 90% of the counties. But guess where she's leading in? She's leading in some of the most populated counties across the state. Baltimore, she's leading there. She's also leading in Prince George's County. The reason there's less remaining vote in Frederick County is because there is just generally less voters in that part of the state. Okay, we're still stuck at 29%. This is ridiculously slow. And we still have to wait for more results, but it's still very, very slow right now. North Carolina. 64% in, and Hal Weatherman has been leading in every single county. Donald Trump leading over Pete Rickens. No, sorry. What did I just say? Okay. Don Bacon probably going to win. Smith, the incumbent Smith is probably Adrian Smith probably going to win. Maryland. Again, we're still stuck at like 29% reported. If y'all want to see anything, just leave it in the comment section. In the live chat section, I should say. Leave it in the comment section. Because I really don't know what to talk about at this point, because how slow the votes are being counted. West Virginia, it does look like Patrick Morrissey is going to end up winning because he has ramped up pretty large numbers in some of these counties too. But Kanawha County, they're 60% done, so I don't think that, again, Moore Capital has a lot of vote left to end up taking a lead here. Glenn Elliott, again, this doesn't really matter. I'm just covering this because I have nothing else to say at this point. Um, we don't have a lot of the vote left, right? We're just looking at these results. We're losing viewership too because there's like nothing to talk about right now. Just looking at these results, we're gonna go back to the state of Maryland. I'm interested to see what some of the other news outlets are talking about in the Maryland race. If we do see that Angela also Brooks ends up winning, this race suddenly becomes a lot better for Larry Hogan because also Brooks is the more progressive option. And some of the voters might just end up voting for for Larry Hogan. Otherwise, his latest results from just now, although I do not see any results whatsoever. I'm probably gonna end the stream in like 10 minutes because there just isn't anything. Prince George's County, Baltimore City, Frederick County. I'm just looking at like where the areas of the remaining vote is. There really isn't much to talk about right now. West Virginia. Why don't we talk about some of the other primaries? Because really there is not anything to talk about right now. 61% in from West Virginia. Patrick Morrissey is leading. We go state legislature. It does look like some of the incumbents are actually going to lose their races. House of Delegates. It looks like some of these incumbents are in a pretty tough position to hang on to their own seats, with a lot of the vote already counted. Nebraska, West Virginia, this is where you see that Joe Biden is showing some weakness. Not too surprising though, these are more rural areas. These are voters who are ancestrally Democratic, who typically votes for Donald Trump or another Republican, who might vote for Joe Manchin. But again, with the results we're seeing right now, it does look like that Joe Biden is going to end up pretty much losing the state of West Virginia, and the Democrats are just going to lose the West Virginia results overall. It does look like that whoever wins the Republican U.S. Senate primary, Jim Justice, will be a next U.S. Senator from the state of West Virginia. We go to the governor's race here. Again, it's a race to replace Jim Justice. Patrick Morrissey is leading. Maryland, Joe Biden has essentially, in my opinion, pretty much secured all the delegates. Yeah, 29% in from the Maryland Democratic primary. Nothing really to talk about there. They've been locked in that position for a very long time. Now, the Baltimore Democratic primary from Baltimore, we see that the incumbent Scott has taken the lead back once again, but that's insignificant. Okay, a bit more vote in. Where did that come from? I know that I believe that Kent County, David Trone has taken back the lead. Charles County, I believe they reported a bit more. Oh, wait, did they report a bit more from Prince George's County? I'm not sure. I think I think Montgomery County also tightened within the last report. I actually right now think that Angela Alsobrooks is going to win after spending $50 million. 50 million. David Trone might actually lose this race. Crazy. I once worked with Glenn Elliott, and I was contracted with the city of Wheeling. He's a good guy and would be a good governor of West Virginia, but he's tilting at what knows and running as a Democrat, as a Dem running statewide. That's the problem, right? If you're running as a Democrat and you have Democratic legislation in the state of West Virginia, you're not going to win a general election. Correct me if wrong, but I think Prince George's County has a large African American population, which could attribute the response of Trone's slur. That's agreeable, right? That is partially the reason. I think that that racial slur really hindered David Trone's campaign, especially in an area like Prince George's County, which is already Angela Alsobrooks' home county. And now the lead for Angela Alsobrooks has extended to 13,000 votes right now. Again, 13,000, it's definitely surmountable, but it's widening. It's going for towards the wrong direction for David Trone. Trone is leading pretty much everywhere across the state, all but 3 counties. But what we're seeing here is that the big lead for Prince George's County is able to combat and pretty much reverse everything else from the other counties across the state. But really, the reports are so slow right now. Yeah, I did cover that. Again, if you're running as a Democrat in such a conservative state with liberal legislation, don't expect to win. Democratic primary, again, 30% in. Angela Alsobrooks with a 5% lead over David Trone. We look at some of the primaries here. Not surprising. What? Maryland Senate. Oh. That was the video from yesterday. Maryland Senate race. Wiki. I'm just going to show you the endorsements. So for the endorsements, we saw that Joe Biden did endorse. I'm just going to show you David Trone. I believe Joe Biden ended up supporting David Trone. Did he though? I'm not super sure, but I did once recall seeing David Trone, that Joe Biden endorsed David Trone, but I'm not super sure at this point. So endorsements for Angela Alsobrooks, Kirk Ware to Singapore. We saw a lot of U.S. senators here: Cory Booker, LaFama Butler, a lot of senators, Raphael Warnock, Chris Van Hollen endorsed from the state of Maryland endorsed Angela Alsobrooks. U.S. representatives, 6 of the 8 representatives endorsed Angela Alsobrooks. U.S. representatives, Hakeem Jeffries, House Minority Leader, endorsed David Trone. Dutch Raffensperger, who is from a slightly more competitive district compared to some of the other candidates, also endorsed David Trone. And David Trone has more endorsements, right? He had endorsements from 71 different members of the House of Representatives. And we see that a lot of county officials, some labor unions, etc., or a lot of organizations endorse the more progressive Angela Alsobrooks. But the fact is, David Trone has 71 endorsements from U.S. representatives, including Hakeem Jeffries, the House Minority Leader. But I guess these local endorsements for Angela Alsobrooks end up mattering more. A bit more vote from Maryland. Nothing surprising. I really don't know at this point who's gonna win. But I think Angela Alsobrooks might win, and I'm gonna end the stream in like 2 or 3 minutes. There's no point to be here to wait for these results. Yeah, I'm just gonna end the stream. There's no point to wait for this, and I'm just gonna end it. I'm just gonna answer some more chat before I leave. Is Joe over for Tron? I agree, Jaden. He is done. There's a good possibility David Tron ends up losing. A possibility that could not have been foreseen just about 2 or 3 months ago. Just making sure there are no more votes, and I'm just gonna end the stream. There's no point to be here. End stream.